I saw this thing on it was one of those Facebook memory things that popped up. I guess I posted this like 6 years ago. I forgot I'd posted this. I want to read this for you. This was taken from a lecture from L. Ron Hubbard in 1958 called The History of Clearing. Clearing mean, getting all the thetans out, but really which is not what they're doing at all. That's what they tell you they're doing. It's not what they're doing at all. You see my film, Spellcasters Volume 1, you know what's up. He's discussing what the source of Scientology is. And he says, quote, "But mysticism and occultism isn't our source. Our source actually is magic. Magic is something that today is performed on a stage with prestidigitation. But magic actually has a much more vivid and noble history than a stage magician. It is quite remarkable that the magician attempts directly to use spirits to perform his will. And that is his basic modus operandi. That is his goal in practicing magic." Right fucking there. Right. I saw that and I was like, I need to reinforce that and send that home because I want people to understand. They need to go back. If they don't understand this, they need to go back and watch Spellcasters Volume 1 again and understand that is, those are facts, motherfucker. That's not my opinion. Those are facts. That's not just something I pulled out of. It's funny that I'm the first person that made a documentary that had those facts in it, but I didn't pull that out of my ass. Scientology is based, I talked about this before, because again, all the stuff, all those programs pre-MK Ultra, there was tons before MK Ultra that all led to MK Ultra, and everybody just talks about MK Ultra, but it was it was 20-something different programs and operations that came from the OSS, and then when the CIA formed the CIA, that led eventually to what became MK Ultra mind control, but it all was taken when they were mining the data mining all the stuff from the Nazis after World War II, because they were doing it first. They were using black magic and trying to use black magic to create the robotically controlled super soldiers. And they were using hallucinogenic drugs and all that stuff as well. That's an incredible, incredible admission from L. Ron Hubbard, because it's from the lecture called The History of Clearing. And that's what they tell people clearing is that they're essentially exorcising these thetans from their body. And when after they go through all the OT levels, they eventually become clear, which means they have no more thetans and nothing could be further from the truth. It's the other way around. L. Ron Hubbard's own son, the guy that was the heir to the throne. You saw the clips from the interview in Spellcasters 1. From his own words. That's why he got out of it. When he realized it was soul cracking. And that they're not clearing anything out. Once you're clear, you're not clear shit. In fact, it's the other way around. You're fucking balls deep. The goddamn demons are balls deep in your cornhole, Tom. I'm looking at you, buddy. John Travolta. I can't even look at Travolta. Tom Cruise, he's always been weird. So you're just kind of used to it by now. By the way, I'm still not buying that whole that thing where he went off about the dude not wearing a mask. That whole thing was staged. That was some great acting by Tom right there. But it was acting nonetheless. Tom doesn't creep me out because he's just always been weird. He's just Tom Cruise, and you know what he is anyway. I can't even stomach. It's weird. It didn't used to bother me. The past couple of years, I don't know what it is. I'll be flipping through, looking for movies to watch or something on on streaming sites and stuff, and I see a picture of I just call him Creepy Travolta now. Just like I've called fucking George Clooney, CIA Clooney for you. His name's not even George to me. Every time I hear somebody call him George, I'm like, George, the fuck is George? I'm like, oh, CIA Clooney? Okay. Creepy Travolta. Oh, God, he is the fucking creepiest. Him and that ugly ass broad from fucking The Handmaid's Tale. She's a Scientology. Ugh. Fucking demon spawn. They make me want to vomit. The sight of either one of them. It's nothing worse than scrolling through and seeing some demon-possessed Scientologist fucking staring back at you from the movie. I can't even stomach Travolta. That dude is such a phony and such a fake, and oh, God. Ugh. I can't even stomach to look at that guy. Ugh. If I see like, like the fucking Welcome Back Kotter days, even though he was in Scientology back then. There's an interesting thing that came out when I watched that Bee Gees documentary, because the guy who basically was, you know, their manager, and the guy that managed their whole career and everything was Robert Stigwood. RSO Records, Robert Stigwood Organization. And it's interesting because Robert Stigwood was also associated with the Beatles. He worked with the Beatles. And it's interesting that they talk about it in that Bee Gees documentary. They talk about how, because a lot of people didn't know that for a long time. Like Travolta's been in fucking Scientology since before he was even fucking really famous. And it seems, even though there hasn't ever been any really direct way to tell it, it's always seemed as though the rise in his career was directly attributed to being a Scientologist. But it's kind of been not a lot of evidence, not a lot of things to prove it, but there was some stuff in that Bee Gees documentary on HBO that really, I was like, oh shit, there were some clues in there. Because he was signed with Robert Stigwood. Somehow, after he got with Scientology, so it started making me think Robert Stigwood was associated with Scientology. If not, at least in some way, probably directly tied to the CIA, British intelligence, possibly MI6. Those are voluminous connections with Scientology all the way anyway. So, to me, it was just another little clue, because it was Robert Stigwood. That was why the whole Saturday Night Fever thing happened with the movie and the Bee Gees doing the music, because these were two separate fucking entities that were under the Robert Stigwood organization, and he was trying to figure out something to do with both of them. The Bee Gees had already had this long career, and then they had a decline. It was basically over, but they were still trying to make music. He was still trying to get them on and trying to find a new way for them to develop, essentially. And then on the other hand, he had this other guy. There was an up-and-coming actor who he was, probably by Scientology, was being pushed to get out there. So what did he do? He just fucking it was genius, really. He took his one artist, the Bee Gees, who were trying to make a transformation and revive their career at that point, and a guy who was come up trying to make a career, and he took an article. They wrote a screenplay off an article. It was an article that was written about the disco scene. And they wrote an article about it, and that article became the screenplay for Saturday Night Fever. So he just clusterfucked those two things together, and boom. How many fucking units did that thing shift? I can't remember. 20 million, multiple 20 million, 100 million? I can't remember. Insane. But I don't think that was there was any kind of, I don't think that was any kind of an accident. I don't think that was any kind of an accident at all, and it was, like I'm always seeing stuff. Like I was talking about in the previous show, this research is such an evolution, and I'm always learning new stuff and finding new connections. And oftentimes, as I've told you before, it's happened a million times with me, I always tend to find it in places where I'm not even looking for it. That whole connection with the Beatles and the Robert Stigwood thing, and I think he was also responsible for, all those movies, that whole run of movies, Saturday Night Fever, Grease. That was some kind of like 3-picture deal or something, or a 4-picture deal or something he got. That was directly because of him going to being under the Robert Stigwood label. So it just seemed like Robert Stigwood, even from the very beginning, had a tremendous amount of power. But other than he was previously associated and worked for the Beatles, there really wasn't any apparent reason, you know what I'm saying? It's not like he had a history of breaking big, huge artists. This guy left the Beatles and started his own organization. And boom, right out of the gates, he's a success and has a lot of big names under him. So I think when I started seeing that, I was like, oh, okay. He was somehow either associated with British intelligence, CIA, and then his push to have them record in that part of Miami, which at the time was huge in cocaine trafficking. That's another secret part that I've uncovered in all this that interconnects and intertwines to all these different stories, even from whether it be Kurt Cobain or Ozzy or any of these. Yeah, that's a big thing. That the music industry, probably not a surprise to anybody. The music industry has been being used for 50 years. It really started in the 70s, but they were trying to get it off the ground before that. But in the 70s is where they really perfected it. I mean, touring acts and stuff have been front organizations for narcotics trafficking, specifically the cocaine trade, for decades. And I believe that some of these suspicious deaths within the rock community have been as a result of people learning about this and realizing that their tours were fronts for moving. No, we're not talking about quarterbacks and dimebacks. We're talking about pounds and hundreds of pounds. We're talking about big money, big multi-million-dollar operations. And why so many of these guys, when they decide they don't want to tour anymore, all of a sudden they die shortly thereafter. Or they die in a plane crash. It's on and on and on. How deep this rabbit hole goes compared to what I was initially setting out to try and show in these films, the Spellcaster 2 and 3, it's deeper than I ever imagined. And I just continue to find more and more. And it's crazy because it's way more serious than I thought. You know, I just thought I was doing, you know, my standard thing that I do with uncovering these hidden truths and different conspiracies and stuff. But to uncover the stuff that I've uncovered now, it's insane. The CIA, the mafia, the music industry, they are all in bed together. And it's one thing to go, oh, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, it's easy to just fluff it off and say that, but it's not until you really see the real evidence and you really see the real connections where you understand this, man, and it's fucking scary. But it's exactly why certain people, talent has really nothing to do with so-called making it in the industry. It really doesn't. It's really about who you know, and if you've got these real legitimate killers, so these guys are legitimate killers, you're going to have a killer career. Anyway, it's just crazy. But I wanted to read that quote again because, I mean, in case there was any question to what Scientology is. No, it's not. It's not getting dead alien spirits out of you that cause misery. No, it's about controlling. It's true mind control. It's about activating and controlling those spirits to where those spirits actually take over and control the entity they are inside of without the entity knowing they are being controlled, with him believing they are 100% in control of all their actions, thoughts, and everything else without any sort of doubt ever in their minds. Because they believe, after going through all the things you have to go through and all these different OT levels to become clear, they believe they are clear of anything like that, and that they are absolutely, and that is the biggest lie. People are being sold freedom, and they are being given the ultimate spiritual enslavement. If I had to sum up Scientology, that's how you would sum it up. You are being sold freedom, and you are being given enslavement. And those fucking contracts, people laugh at those contracts. The billion-year contracts or whatever they sign. Oh, ha, ha, ha. People don't live that long, stupid. Stupid Scientology, these stupid big billion-year contracts. They're so dumb. You really think that? You really think that? You really think that they're just morons? And that's why they have a fucking billion-year contract for you to sign? You really think that's just done for shits and giggles? It's stupid Scientology. Nobody lives a billion years. I don't care. I'll sign a billion-year contract, dummies. Good luck enforcing that contract, you dummy billionaires. It's your soul, stupid. It's not just your soul in this incarnation, in this particular meat suit you're inhabiting right now they want, bucko. No, dude, they want your ass in this life, the next one, the one after that, and the one after that, and go on and multiply that until you get to 1 billion years. And then after 1 billion years, we'll talk. This is absolutely spiritual enslavement, and it's being sold as spiritual freedom. And it's being sold as, you know, all the dummies, they all the SPs out there, they think they're free, but they're really the slaves. We're the ones in here in Scientology. We're the ones that are really free because we're getting these thetans out of us and we're becoming clear. No, wrong. Wrong-o, farthest from the truth. He who is the clearest in Scientology is the most controlled in Scientology. I had a dream. It's so weird. I had a dream one time. This is before I even knew anything about Scientology. I hadn't even done any research into it at all. And I had a dream that Tom Cruise was chasing me around trying to kill me. And I laughed. I'll never forget this. I remember laughing so hard because I was like, ah! Fucking Tom Cruise is trying to kill me. He's trying to murder me because it was so real. It was fucking real, dude. It was really vivid and realistic. And he looked, in my dream, he looked like a demon. He was demon possessed. And I remember laughing, going, fucking Tom Cruise, fuck that guy. Fucking, why would that motherfucker want to kill me? Fuck him. Then I started learning about MEST and Scientology, matter, energy, and space-time, and how they say you become able to control matter, energy, and space-time. I was like, that motherfucker, just like Alex Jones fucking knew. I've told that story. It's a famous story I've told a bunch of times. Just like fucking Alex Jones. That's how he fucking knew. 2006, I mean, a year before I'm ever fucking, I'll never forget that, man. That was, I've been in a lot of fucking crazy situations. I've had a lot of fucking crazy things happen to me in my life. But man, that fucking one sticks with me, and I'll never forget it as long as I live because it was so crazy. It shook me. I remember the whole night and the riding home and leaving and everything. That moment shook me all night. I was just freaked out. I've never seen anyone, no one's ever looked at me that way. I've never seen anyone look at anything that way. He was looking, and he was gnarling his teeth. He was staring. I was waiting in line at the bar. He was sitting behind the bar on a bench by the old theater where the ticket taker would, or the person would, you buy tickets and give you to the little ticket booth. He was sitting there behind on a bench, and I was waiting in line to get a beer. And I just looked over, and I was like, I looked around behind me, so I was like, who the fuck is he? Who did piss him off? Who's he? He looks like he's ready to kill. Alex Jones. I'm like, what fucking Alex Jones looking like he's going to kill somebody? And I was like looking fucking back. I was like, who the fuck is he looking at? And I glanced back over at him. He's looking at me. He's looking at me, dude, directly in my he looked like a fucking demon. He looked like the devil. It was so weird. And I was a fan of his then. You know, it was at his event where a crazy thing is, it was the same place a year later I ended up premiering my first film. But once I learned about his connections with the Scientology stuff and all the stuff I had in Volume 1 of Spellcasters, and learned about matter, energy, and space-time, you know, and this ability to be able to, like, look into the future and stuff, that's when I started realizing, and that dream I had about Tom Cruise started freaking me out. I was like, that's fucking crazy. Because I've had a lot of stuff like that in my dreams. I've had a lot of weird stuff, like future predicting stuff happen in my dreams throughout the years, almost my whole life. It's weird. It's really weird. Crazy stuff. A lot of like future predicting stuff I've had. It's so weird. But like I said, at the time, it was funny to me because that's what that was. It was a future predicting dream, not predicting. I was saying that Tom Cruise is going to kill me. But what I'm saying is it was future predicting in the fact that I just hadn't got to the point in my life yet where my subconscious mind might come up with something with a scenario like that to make me have a dream about it. Because at that point, I didn't have any reason to fear Tom Cruise at all. But because this is where we start getting into stuff about, you know, the soul and spirituality and the physiological connection between the spirit and the body, which I think we don't give enough credit to sometimes because it is, you know, just a carbon-based meat suit and all the rest of it. But the body, because the spirit and the soul is so strong and has such a strong influence on the body while it's inside of it, that the physical body starts to adapt to the energies of the spiritual body within it. And so because of that, my subconscious and whatever our conscious minds and subconscious minds are connected to, people call it the, what do they call it? The, collective consciousness or collective unconscious, you know, that whole thing. Somehow my brain, because of the body soul connection, and because once you start understanding about spirituality and the soul and the dimensions, and you start understanding that time is a construct of this three-dimensional reality and this construct that we exist in, time really doesn't exist, not linear time anyway, in multidimensional reality. It's just one continuous thing. It's not the past, present, and the future. It's just one continuous line of existence. And so because of that, because that's where spirituality and the soul that inhabits your five sense reality, 3D meat suit, it's connected to that. It can have a physiological effect on our brains to where we have dreams like that about things that haven't even occurred yet, because time is not existent within the realms of multidimensional reality, which is where we're really contacting and getting connected to when we dream and when we're born and when we die. And of course, as you know, DMT has a big part with that because it's naturally produced by the pineal gland and all that. So, that's the reason why we have it's that to me, if we can start to understand that, boy, I think we could change the world. When that thing that I just put forward to you, understanding that you could have a dream of something 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but then it is completely, you ever have a weird dream like that? You're like, that was random. Why would I have that dream? And then 10, 20 years later, you find yourself in almost the exact situation, this dream you had 10 or 20 years ago. It's wild. Because again, when it comes to multidimensional reality, the future and things that haven't occurred yet, and everything that's occurred in the past, and everything that's occurred right now, are all happening simultaneously all at once. There's no separation or disconnect from those things. What gives us the disconnect from those things is being in five-sense reality, being in these entrapped and enslaved spirits in the material world. The Police have that album called that. That's what that means. Spirits of the material world that's what we are. We're enslaved into these bodies. That's why people talk about, the release at death and DMT and death being a release and death being the beginning, not the end, and all this stuff. Everything within our reality is designed to make us believe otherwise. Because whoever it is that truly controls this dimension, and whoever it is that really controls our reality and got our spiritual bodies to get on this never-ending Dharma wheel where we constantly reincarnate back down into these five-sense reality, five-plane bodies and not breaking free, and then breaking free of that being the main goal when you get to the real heart of what all the secret societies are about, and it is that's when you start to understand what's going on here. That's the enemy. That's who we've got to defeat. Is whoever it is that has a vested interest in keeping this, and they're the people that control religions, they're the people that control governments and all this other stuff. You figured this out yet, guys? I'm dropping fucking bombs over here. You awake? This is it, man. There's nothing bigger than this. Somebody has a vested interest, and they use religion and all the rest of that stuff so that our spirits and our souls are entrapped and enslaved in these five-sense reality bodies, and we get stuck on this wheel where we just constantly go and go and go, and we do it, and we have to make ourselves conscious of this in this life so we can step off that wheel, and we have to spread that information and that knowledge to the world and make everyone understand it so that everyone, when they die, could step off this wheel and no one will come back here to this planet and inhabit these five-sense reality bodies again that are nothing but enslaved creatures in a world of misery and disgust where only the people that control this wheel and control the knowledge of it, control the suppression of its existence, get to thrive and get to be the ones in charge and get to have whatever they want. That's the revolution, people. I talked years ago about the revolution of the mind, and that's the true revolution of the mind. It's never going to come from guns and war and protesting and all the rest of this stuff. It is going to come from understanding what we are truly up against as far as this world that we exist in, why we inhabit here, why it continues, why is it in somebody, whoever it is, who has a vested interest in keeping it going. Once we are able to break humanity free from the bondage of spiritual enslavement that we are born into, they will no longer have the power they have, and we will be able to send untold trillions, who knows how many, of souls back into other dimensions of reality where they are spiritual beings that are no longer being enslaved and held in these five-sense reality meat suits in this world. Why do you think we hadn't found anything else like ourselves out there, guys? And why do you think they have such a vested interest in this stage alien invasion scenario? Because they want to make people believe there are other realities are out there like the one we exist in when there aren't. I just gave you the secret. I mean, mic drop, motherfucker. I just nutshelled it for you. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's what we're up against. All the rest of this shit's just scenery. Window dressing. Whoever is in control of this reality and has a vested interest in this reality and spiritual beings being enslaved in these human bodies and constantly reincarnating and never being able to ascend to other realms of reality, that's the ones, as I talked about before. Remember I talked about how you go up and up and up and you hit a wall and eventually get to the point where you can't see who's controlling things because it's coming from another dimension of? That's what I was talking about. That's it. And again, when you, whether it be Rosicrucians or Freemasons, whoever, that's what the original mystery schools and the original religions of, they were all, and the priesthood, it was all about teaching mankind in secret those things, but became corrupted and became evil stuff like the priesthood and organized religion and the rest of this stuff, where all these different religions are there to supplant the real spiritual connection that we all have within us, because we're spiritual beings, with this phony thing so we don't feel like we're missing anything. Otherwise, why do we have the need for religion? There is no, if you're looking at it from like a Darwinistic standpoint or something, there's no evolutionary adaptational reason why we need religion. The only reason we do is because it's there to supplant the real knowledge and the real truth. Oh, don't worry. When you die, just ask for forgiveness. When you die, you'll go to heaven. Just go to that white light. Fuck that white light. That white light is the motherfucker that gets you back down and reincarnate again. Fuck that white light. When you die and you see that white light, don't go toward it. Don't go down either. You don't want to go that way either, motherfucker. Don't go down. You want to go down here with me, something comes. Yes, come down here. Come down here and die with me. We got all the good boys down here. Yeah, don't go down. Don't go down. Don't go to that white light, man. That's the motherfucker. Don't worry. You're going to heaven. That's where all your family's waiting on you. All your dead friends and family that died before you, and all your pets that died. They're waiting on a puffy cloud, and you're going to hang out in the clouds with Jesus and forever. It's going to be fucking awesome. You're never going to get bored. You'll be up there, you have all the video games, all the weed you want to smoke, and it's going to be rad. Man, those motherfuckers are selling you your ass back here on this fucking planet again. And guess what? If you're sitting here listening to me right now, guess what? Guess what we all have in common, ladies and gentlemen? We didn't learn this fact in our last incarnation. And we are here now, right now, together because of it. Black, white, brown, green, doesn't matter. We all have in common in our last incarnation. Information wasn't as much widespread as it is now. You couldn't widespread it as much. We have that power and that ability now to spread this stuff widespread. We all have that in common. What we need to all have in common is learning this fact so that when we die, we don't inhabit, because eventually, if everybody figures this out, there won't be anybody left to inhabit down here into these bodies again, and their power will be over. Now, where we're going after that, where we're ascending to, and what the dimension of it is, don't ask me. I don't know. I don't have a fucking clue. Based on what I've read from, secret societies and occultists and different religions, from what I understand, is that it's essentially the equivalent of graduating from high school or graduating from college, and as soon as you graduate and you're done, you go back to the front of the line again, the back of the line again, rather. You go back to kindergarten again. I'm simplifying it, but essentially that's kind of what all of them say. I've talked about Alice Bailey's initiation human and solar before. That's what she says with Freemasonry. It's only 33 levels. There's 360 degrees in Freemasonry, but only 33 are obtainable within our physical reality. But then after death, you go to the lodge that's located on Sirius, and you become an adept again. You start over again, and then you go through, and then this new, whatever this is, the next multidimensional reality, the next reality you go to is. But instead, what we're getting, instead of graduating and going back and you go through kindergarten again, they're making us start back over from birth again when we die. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be going on to the next thing, continuing on and on and on into infinity. But what's happening is that instead, because the real truth about these things is being hidden from us, we're coming down here, we're graduating when we die, and then we're back at square one again. You get to do it all, and you get to suffer all over again endlessly until the end of time, and you get to come back down here and wonder what's it all about? Why are we here? And you ever get close to the truth, and you live your life, and you die again, and you reincarnate, and you come back here, and you have the same questions and same thoughts again. That's not what's supposed to be happening. We are spiritual entities who are being enslaved in these bodies. And the only solution to that is to find everyone we can. You know what? I should start a fucking religion with this shit. Maybe I can get a fucking 501c3 and get some fucking... No, seriously. This is what everybody needs. Fuck all the other dumb shit. Literally, this is what everybody needs to know about. This is what everybody needs to learn about. I mean, again, I've talked about the Tibetan Book of the Dead and stuff, man, and Egyptian Book of the Dead. I mean, that's why they created that thing. So that after a person dies, you have a guide in the material world that's reading these books over your body, in your spirit after you die. And it's instructions on how to avoid all the things that keep you coming back down here and reincarnating and getting on the Dharma wheel again. That's what it's all about. And what you're going to encounter and who you're going to encounter, things you're going to encounter, not to be scared and let fear in this environment overtake you, because that's what pushes you back towards the white light and gets you to incarnate again. This has been going on for thousands of years, guys. This is not new. Thousands of years ago, people were dying, and people were reading this material to them to ensure. Okay, this is not just old school, 20,000 years ago. That's what, again, we talked about that on the show recently. People think people 100 years ago, 200 years ago were ignorant. Much less 1,000, 5,000 years ago, they must have been in the fucking caveman, dumb caveman. No. So many of the secrets that are being kept from us now were known thousands of years ago. That's the difference. Again, just like the Scientology thing, it's the opposite of what we think is true. We think people 5,000 years ago weren't as technologically advanced as us, and in reality, they were probably more technologically advanced. It's like Scientologists, they think they're free, they're more enslaved, especially when you get to the highest levels. This is the key. I have to tell you, from all the years of research and everything that everything comes back to this. It just continually comes back to this. And the more research I do, the more I see it like I talked about before. I see it in places where I'm not even looking for it. And I see that truth reveal itself at times and in places where I'm not even looking for it. That just reinforces, see, there it is again. And, the other interesting thing is it seems that a lot of the people who have figured this out have gone on to be quite successful, and they don't seem to be wanting to share it with a lot of people. But fuck that. I want to share it with everybody because this is the key. This is the only way we're ever going to undo the reality that we're in, ladies and gentlemen. It's not going to come through voting. It's not going to come through being a part of a political party. It's not going to come from activism, being out on the street. It's not even going to come from, there being large support for it. It's only going to come when every single person understands it and understands that to be the truth. But unfortunately, I believe we're going to have to endure a lot more horrific things on this planet before we get to a point where the masses are going to be able to get this information and understand it. But goddamn it, we got to try. That's why I'll never give up. That's why I haven't given up. This is bigger than me or you and whoever we are in this limited time that we're here in this 5 cents reality meat suit that we're in. This is about ending suffering for spiritual beings who are being enslaved forever. Stakes are a lot higher than whoever wins some election and all that other bullshit. All that stuff, again, all scenery, all there to distract us from the real truth. And that's what stuff like QAnon and all this stuff, but it's all distraction. It's all window dressing. None of it's ever getting any closer to what the real truth and the real thing that we need to be arming ourselves for spiritually to fight. That's it.